All right, everyone. We are live for the Detox workshop. And if you guys wouldn't mind filling in towards the center for me, if we do have any stragglers, I'd hate for them to sit on your lap. That's always something that we want to avoid. And plus, I like you guys in front of me too, right? All right, look at all these beautiful faces. Yeah, absolutely. Switch them out. Switch them out. Get the comfy ones. I don't mind at all. That's the benefit of being in the front row, right? Yeah, let me help you with that one. Yeah, of course. Yes. All right. Welcome everyone to your detox workshop. This is the workshop for lifelong learners. Because is detox sexy? Not really. When you get into the nitty-gritty of it, you're really not talking about sexy stuff at all when you're talking about detox. And a lot of it is very high-level stuff. So this is kind of like an advanced class. So if this is your first class, if you don't mind, raise your hands. Everybody give them a round of applause, because I'm really, to be here for a class like this tells me that you are lifelong learners. And to do that sets you apart already. You guys are already doing so much better than everyone else. And I was praying about today, and I was praying about what we're talking about tonight. And the verse that came to me is the same verse that always comes to me. I bet some of you that have been here for more than a few classes could tell me what that verse is, but I'll just say it for you so you don't have to guess. It's Romans 12, 1 and 2. Therefore, I urge you, brothers, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as living sacrifices, holy and pleasing to God. This is your spiritual act of worship. Do not conform any longer to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, so you can test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will. If that's all you get tonight, go ahead. Like, that's enough. That's enough. That's been the verse I've been kind of dwelling on since I graduated high school. Yeah, it's just such a huge thing, because as believers, I believe that Christians are called to be set apart. But when you look at the church, is it actually set apart? Is it actually any different than the way that the rest of the world is doing things? No, in fact, it's worse. The healthcare of the church is in worse state than the healthcare of the secular world. And the secular world's not doing so hot. You know, you look at all the money we spend, you look at all the time we spend on that money, and you look at the results that we get. You know, they did better in biblical times than we do in the United States. Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Moses, they all lived 120, 130, 150, and they were fighting battles over the age of 100. They were on the front lines. What are we doing wrong? Well, we're falling into the pattern of this world because it's easy. You know, the thing about being part of the modern church is that it's very, very easy to get comfortable, isn't it? Very easy. You know, we all have our pet sins, me too, right? For some of us, it's like a bowl of ice cream right before bedtime. For others of us, it might be, you know, a pint or a quart or a gallon or something a little heavier or stronger than ice cream. But more often than not, it's what we don't know. Hosea says, my people perish for a lack of knowledge. And so tonight, I want to share with you guys some knowledge. A lot of knowledge and a lot of very heady stuff. I'm going to try to keep it as surface level as possible. If you want to get into the chemistry, that's a different talk. Toxicity is already complicated enough. There's already too much stuff without me going into the chemistry of everything. So we're going to jump into this. We're going to jump through this. So I got something to read to you guys, and this really opened up my eyes while I was in chiropractic school when I read this. So this is from a blog. This is not a scientific journal or anything, but just somebody that's informed about where a lot of these toxic exposures are coming from. So, not along if this is you. You awakened from sleeping on a mattress that was coated with flame-retardant chemicals emitting formaldehyde gas and a carcinogenic brominated substance, which your body readily absorbs at night. Drinking water from a plastic bottle, you instead hydrate your body with phthalates that cause cancer and infertility. Walking barefoot toward the bathroom on synthetic carpet, your skin absorbs benzene, styrene, and several other cancer-causing chemicals used to treat the carpet. Once in the bathroom, you splash your face with tap water laced with fluoride and chlorine, both carcinogens to the human body. You open a plastic bottle of Listerine mouthwash or similar brand and gargle a half dozen flavoring and coloring chemicals. You pick up your cancer-causing fluoride toothpaste full of all kinds of toxic ingredients, including titanium dioxide, aspartame, and artificial coloring. You raise your arms and apply deodorant, which contains 7 chemicals, including aluminum, parabens, a hormone-disrupting preservative, propylene glycol, a lubricant and suspected cancer agent, carcinogenic phthalates to hold fragrance and color, and 100 different chemicals disguised under the name fragrance. According to the FDA, we average using 9 personal care products daily, containing about 126 chemical ingredients. Body lotions contain penetration-enhancing chemicals that can drive toxins from other toiletries deeper into your flesh. Finally, you pull out numerous prescription medications with warning labels attached and swallow this mixture of synthetic chemicals. Then you pee it out into the toilet and ultimately back into the tap water for others to unwittingly drink. Municipal do not test or filter medication in tap water. All the while, you've been breathing benzene fumes capable of causing leukemia from that deodorizer you installed under the commode seat lid. Walking back to the bedroom, you put on clothes fresh from the dry cleaner, rife with and residues of trichloroethylene and N-hexane, chemicals known to cause nerve cell damage, memory loss, cardiac abnormalities, and cancer. If your clothing is made of synthetic fibers, your plastic clothes expose you to plasticizer fumes, for which you get a double bonus of breathing it in and having it soak into your skin. You and your child's clothes also likely contain flame retardant chemicals that are notorious releasers of toxic bromine fumes. These block your thyroid function and make you tired and fat. The more tightly insulated your bedroom, the greater the outgas collection of the chemicals from your furniture, paint, rugs, and carpeting, and greater the impact on your brain, with symptoms like mood swings, feeling of spaciness, headaches, and an inability to concentrate, and that's all before you took your shower. It goes on. It goes on. I mean, you think about everything that you expose yourself through the day, and most of the stuff, if you're getting it the way that most of us do, buying stuff because it was in a commercial and you see it on the store shelf and it was on sale and it's the cheaper item or the name brand item, you're very likely to be the same place that everyone around you is. And what's the average right now? The average is 11 different medications, $11,000 a year in healthcare costs. So if you do the things that the people around you do, what is it considered to expect different results? Insanity. That's the definition of insanity. So we have to do things differently. And so that's my purpose, right? That's why I opened this office, was to help people do things differently. And what I find for people coming in to see me is that people who have been everywhere else, done everything else, and either gotten little results or no results or the opposite of what they came in for. And what we do is we just point them back to the way that God created us. Because that's all I can do. Because guess what, guys? The best doctor in the world is inside you. When God created you and he breathed that breath of life into you, he gave you an amazing doctor that's capable of healing cancer, all without us even knowing that we have it. And so most often we just have to get up. As well. So we're going to hopefully give you some of those steps on this process. What does this look like if this purpose comes to fruition? Well, it looks a whole lot different than this. My vision is that people start to view their lens of health differently, that they use different glasses on their health, that their first stop wouldn't be the emergency room or their medical doctor or their medicine cabinet or their physician's assistant or their friend who's a nurse, that they would think about what's their body trying to do, what's their body trying to accomplish. But these things, they're interfering with that, aren't they? It's amazing what we're exposed to. And we just look at all these different categories. We're going to break these down as we go into this thing. And we're going to get a very clear idea of where this is coming from. All right. So there's a report done that they estimated that we're actually exposed to 2.1 different heavy or chemicals throughout the day. But heavy metals can build up in our body, leading to a number of health problems. So heavy metals are one of the greatest toxins that we can be exposed to. Give me an example of a heavy metal. Mercury. Mercury is a good example. Yeah, that has mercury in it for most of you. I think I heard aluminum. Yep, aluminum for sure. I listed a couple when I was going through. All right. Now there's a lot of them out there, but you know, what are the side effects? Number one is cancer. Number two, reproductive disorders. This one's going up. Guess what's happening in our country right now? Decreased fertility rates in men and women, both. Neurological problems, cardiovascular disease. This one's even bigger than this one, right? But when was the last time your medical doctor asked if maybe you had a toxicity reaction leading to your high blood pressure? Never. Developmental disorder. How many people do you know that are claiming they have ADHD now? It's like everybody. You know, anybody here watch TikTok? Am I the only one? I probably, yeah. I'm just that young, right? I'll take it as a compliment. Yeah, no, I feel like half of the videos on TikTok are somebody talking about how they have ADHD and what it's like, what life in a day, or what it's like in a day in their life having ADHD. Joint and muscle disorders. I think everybody in this room can relate to that one along some line. Skeletal, blood, kidney, and renal problems. Now, these two right here. Yeah, I sit down and I'll have a consult with somebody and they'll say, oh yeah, every time the weather changes, I flare up. You know, and if they told that to a medical doctor, an orthopedist, they'd say, oh yeah, you've got arthritis because I'm getting old. Anybody even testing heavy metals? Anybody looking at any other toxins that are creating this? No, they're not. Immune system compromise. That should be a big deal, especially these last 2 years. But was anybody even looking at that? Yeah, people aren't looking at this. The medical doctors, the immunologists, they might be looking at it on their own in the papers, but it's not getting published. It's not getting put out there. CNN sure as heck isn't putting it out there. Nerve disorders, lung damage, another one that we should be paying attention to, right? Contact dermatitis. Is that it? Is that all we got? The list goes on. All right, so maybe you're not there yet. Maybe you don't have all those things. But what are some of the warning signs that you're getting there? Are you having trouble because you're gaining weight or you have weight loss resistance? Do you feel fatigued during the day, even more so than what your physical exertion is calling out for? Do you have skin problems? Do you have a rash? I mean, is your body just not getting rid of this stuff? Are you having muscle pain or muscle spasms? Are you having trouble with constipation? Are you having trouble sleeping? Do you get headaches or migraines? Do you get mood swings? Those are all signs that neurologically, hormonally, chemically, toxicologically, you're getting disrupted. So we need to start looking at the cause, right? Predisposition is not predestiny. What have you been told about cancer? If your mom had it, your dad had it, your aunt had it, you got to get tested because it must be genetic. We don't want you to get that gene. Guess what? That breast cancer gene, it doesn't hardly increase your risk of breast cancer at all. It's percentage points, not tens of percentage points, like 2 or 3 percentage points of increased risk if you have the breast cancer gene. But if you have the breast cancer gene, guess what that does? It loads the gun. Has a loaded gun ever killed someone? Not without somebody to pull the trigger, right? Right? Something has to pull the trigger. And what that trigger is your lifestyle, right? That whole long list of things we just went through. You know, the toxic things we're putting in our mouth or on our face or on our skin. It gets into our bloodstream and it goes to those cells and it interacts with those genes. And then the genes say, oh, I know how to respond to this because my grandma responded to this. That's called epigenetics. Everybody knows about genetics. We all studied Watson and Crick, right? You know, we've got the human genome, we've mapped it now. Guess what? Everything that we expected with the human genome was pretty much wrong. We had about 10% of the gene combinations that we thought we'd find. We thought we'd find literally the cure and cause of every single disease out there. Turns out we only have a few different gene combinations in the fruit fly. Yeah, genes are not the answer. Genes are not the reason you're sick. If your mom, your dad, your aunt, your uncle, your grandma, your grandpa, if they all had something, more often than not, it's lifestyle. It's what you guys all did together. 95%, this is the Journal of Pharmaceutical Research, they said 95% of all cancer is attributed to diet and toxins. All cancer. Guess what? Toxins are fat soluble. So this is that weight loss thing. So I know, because I sit down with a lot of you and we have consultations and we talk about weight loss as one of your goals. And a lot of you want this, but you're struggling. And this right here, this is the key. This is why it's hard to lose weight, and also why you don't feel good when you lose weight. This is why when you do lose weight, that it comes off so slowly. Because what happens is when you take a toxin in, something that your body's not used to, right? Because most of the toxins that we're exposed to are brand new to our bodies in the scheme of things. Whether humans are 6,000 years old or 6 million years old, and I'm not here to talk about that, but whether or not one of those two is true, we've only seen most of these things in exposure to our bodies in the last 100 years. An infinitesimally small amount of time for our bodies to get used to these different products and materials. And so when our body encounters something that it's not used to, that it wasn't programmed to encounter, it takes it and it hides it inside a fat cell as far away from the vital organs as possible. That's why they say that visceral fat's so dangerous, because it gets wrapped all in your digestive organs where there's so much blood flow and neuron flow. It puts it on the outside and you get this furniture's disease where your chest falls into your drawers, right? Yeah, that's funny. Think about it. No, it's not funny, but it's funny. Furniture's disease. It's because your body, the innate intelligence inside you, it knows better than to allow these toxic substances to be close in because they can be so harmful. And so it hides it as far away as possible. And so then you want to lose weight, but you don't realize you're toxic because you're just doing what everybody else is doing, and everybody else is doing it, so it must be safe, right? We're all jumping off the Brooklyn Bridge together. Must be safe. That parachute will catch us. And then it doesn't come off. And we try all the diets, and those fad diets, they don't work because they don't address the toxins. They don't address the function. They're just tricking your body off of carbs, or they're tricking your body onto only protein, or they're tricking your body so that it's lower in calories. And it might work for a week or two or a month or two, but ultimately it fails because you just fall back into these old patterns and habits because the chemistry is off, right? And the neurology is off. And your body still doesn't know how to deal with those toxins. So we have to address that if we're going to take some weight off, especially if we're going to swap fat for muscle, because that's ultimately what we want to do. So the dose does make the poison though, right? If you get a little bit, and this is my guarantee to you, you will never be able to live a toxin-free life. Never. Not even in the Garden of Eden, right? There were always toxins, but guess what? We are so fearfully and wonderfully made. God gave us such incredible organs to be able to deal with this. Your liver and kidneys are there specifically to deal with toxins. Your skin is your largest detoxification organ. Your lungs have so much surface area for getting toxins out of your body that you can handle toxic exposures up to a point. But it's when we surround ourselves constantly and never give it a break that it becomes overwhelmed. It's like filling up a bucket, or let's say, what's it called where you're just trying to get a little bit, spout? No, what's the funnel? Yes, funnel. You got a funnel. And if everything goes through the bottom of that funnel, you're okay. You don't express any symptoms. But you pour in that toxic load too fast, what's going to happen is start spilling out the top. And just imagine that spilling out into your gut or into your heart or into your lungs. What's going to happen to those organs? they're going to start to get dysfunctional. They're not going to be able to handle it as well. So you got to stay behind that. You have to allow enough of those to get through the system first. And so I'm going to show you a couple things tonight. I'm going to show you how do we avoid that exposure so we're not putting too much in, but also how do we prime the pump, right? Anybody ever have to start a manual lawnmower and prime the pump first, right? We're going to prime the pump so it goes through faster too. I'm going to give you those tools. So what are the top toxins? Number 1, phthalates. Number 2, BPA. Most of you probably haven't heard of this one. You know what this one is, right? Yeah, BPA-free plastic, right? Guess what? There's more than just BPA out there. Every plastic has bisphenols that are estrogen mimickers and are ultimately disrupting hormones and creating cancers inside your body. VOCs, MTBEs, styrene. Anybody know where you find that? Styrofoam, yep, it's in the name. Mycotoxins, that's in mold. Heavy metals. Endotoxins, LPS. Pesticides, that's this guy, right? We've all seen one of these. You just drive I-80 West. PTFEs, all of us have been exposed to this because we don't like it. Our eggs stick into our pans, do we? All right, so where are they found? Number 1, our food supply, right? If it goes in your mouth, you're getting exposed to it. Number 2, water, same thing. It's going in your mouth. Our environment. Cosmetics are a huge one. This stat blew me away, and some of you might even be here because I told you this stat. But the average female consumes inside their bloodstream 5 pounds of makeup a year. That gets into their bloodstream. Cleaners, hopefully we're all exposed to this. And then containers. So let's walk through what we're going to do here. Number 1, we're going to identify what's coming through where and from what. And then 2, what are our action steps? So these are the things I need you to write down, the action steps. Because if all we do is take in this information, I'm kind of funny. You guys might have a good time. But if you write down some action steps, even if you never look at your notes, you're 90% more likely to actually do something about it. So make sure you're writing these down. So number 1, cleaners. So with our cleaners, what are we exposed to? Perchloroethylene. And if it says ethylene, it's very likely toxic. Come on. Click, click, click. It's got a little delay there. Formaldehyde. What's formaldehyde for? Preserving bodies. Yeah. What's it do to living bodies? It causes cancer. It makes a living body a dead body and holds on to it really well. Chlorine, neurotoxin. Ammonia. What happens when you mix ammonia and chlorine? Toxic gas. What happens if you don't mix ammonia and chlorine? Toxic gas. It's the same thing. It's just not as bad. Not as bad. And more. So the other thing here, the one that we've been exposed to a lot, is disinfectants. And probably number 1 here is fragrances. We get these artificial fragrances. It's just a chemical bomb of what's going on. Colors, same thing. They did a study on just colors and their effects on kids. The colors themselves will create that ADHD and ADD behavior. And then propylene glycol, another carcinogen. So what do we need to do? Well, number 1, I want to give you guys a tool. So I'm gonna switch out of the PowerPoint here real quick and just show you a tool that I have. And we all have access to this tool. It's a free tool. This is the EWG Clean Living Guide. And so this is, these are just some cleaners, right? Some all-purpose cleaners. Actually, these are glass cleaners because I was curious. And these are the ones in the D range. I actually had the all-purpose cleaners up here on the other tab. So here, anybody use any of these products before? Yeah? Yeah, Ajax, I know that one. Clorox. Yeah, no, I was not surprised now that I know what I know, right? But Yeah, this is a tool that you guys can use to grade what's in your cabinets. And they'll actually rate it on a scale of A to F. If you scroll up on this screen, what you'll see is that there's categories in each one. So for a lot of you guys, I know that budget is a concern, right? What's the most expensive thing for you to get in the store is cancer, right? So we want to avoid that at all costs. So I would encourage you to aim at the A category when you're buying these things in the store. And you can go back and you can go to ewg.org, right? And you can just find Healthy Living Guide. And it's right at the top of the screen. EWG Guides right there. And you can actually search what you have. And guess what? There's an app too. So if you're in the store, you just do a barcode scan, it brings it up and it tells you how healthy or unhealthy it is. Right? And so then you can shop not based off of the dollars and cents, which may actually get you into more trouble, but based off of how healthy it is for you to be exposed to. So these are the things that we want to look for. If you click on these pluses there, it'll actually open it up and tell you why it's scored an F, what things it's doing inside the human body. Because guess what? The FDA and EPA have approved all these things. They said that there's fine, but if it's scoring an F, it's got known carcinogens, known estrogen mimickers, known hormone mimickers, all these different things. So we want to look for those things. So ewg.org, great tool for each of us to be using. Okay, so action step number one, get on that app and start rating those cleaners for yourselves. Because guess what? I don't know them all. How many did they say there were in there? Just for all-purpose cleaners, over 2 million or 2,000 or something? Even if it was 2,000 or 200, I wouldn't be able to memorize that list, right? What I do is I memorize the ones I know are good. Or at least the ones I know are in my kitchen cabinet, right? And sometimes that changes. Every year they're updating this list. So what do you need to change immediately? Number one thing that we need to change is, drum roll, click it again. Knew I shouldn't have put the animations in. All right, there we are. Number one is that all-purpose cleaner. Go on ewg.org, look for it. Guess what the best all-purpose cleaner is? Vinegar. Vinegar. Guess what the second best one is? Lemon's great. It might be second best. Yeah, baking powder or baking soda. Yeah, baking soda. Yeah, baking powder probably doesn't do as well. Salt's another good scrubber. Yeah, the things that grandma used, right? Before all these chemicals were commonplace. Those are the safest ones. Disinfecting wipes. Guess what I don't do when I go into the grocery store? Wipe down my cart. Because by wiping down my cart, guess what I do? I actually kill the good bacteria on my hands, expose myself to the chemicals there, and then the bad bacteria that I'm exposed to in the store actually have more of an opportunity to get in through my skin and into my bloodstream. Does that make sense? No. Yeah, it's not rocket science? No, it's chemistry, but it's not rocket science. Dish soap. Why dish soap? Because yes, you're sticking your hands in it. Hot water actually opens up the pores, and guess what stays on your plate afterwards, even if you rinse it off? The residue, especially if you're using a dishwasher. You might not be sticking your hands in it, but you're using that heat, and it's so hot. I mean, if you open that up, what billows out of there? Steam, right? Because it kills the germs faster, but the chemicals stick to it. And so you're getting more exposure when you're eating off of those things. Dish detergent, yep, same thing. Laundry detergent. About 30% of what touches your skin ends up in your bloodstream. That's how you can consume 5 pounds of cosmetics every year, ladies. Hopefully not, gentlemen, but you know, to each his own. You never know, you never know. All right, so cosmetics. So this is one I am completely unqualified to teach about. The last time I used cosmetics was in the 5th grade when I dressed up as a teacher. Yes, and I had my mom help me with the makeup. So that was where my lead exposure came from. But yeah, this is what we're looking at. In a study that they did, I think it was 49 different cosmetic products ranging from everything. I don't know. I didn't understand all the names or what they were for. There's all the different categories of stuff. 96% of them contain lead. 90% of them contain beryllium. Anybody know what that is? Me neither. No, I believe that beryllium is actually in the range of things that we use for nuclear warheads. One of those metals or things. Thallium, kind of the same thing. 61% contained thallium, 51% contained cadmium, batteries, 20% contained arsenic. Right? So what their summary was is none of these are safe. We would not want you to do it. Where do you get it? Exactly. That's the second step, right? So action steps. What are your safe swaps? These are the brands that people that know, not me, people that know recommend as far as beauty products. And you've probably not heard of many of these because I've only heard of one of them. Yeah, 100% pure, Honest Beauty, Crunchy, Thrive, and Ilia. Yeah, I've heard of Crunchy. Some of you have heard of Thrive. I mean, there's different ones, and there might be more good ones out there. But guess what? Guess where you can find these? EWG.org, right? And they actually have a app called Skin Deep for the ladies for their beauty products. Yep, that's a good app. So when you're in Ulta and you're looking at, oh, this one's organic, that must mean it's safe, right? And then you scan it and it's like, oh, it's an F because it's organic cadmium or organic lead. I mean, those are real natural products, right? Just because something says organic or natural does not mean it's safe. So EWG is a great tool to be able to go through those things. And for us guys, our deodorant and Crest toothpaste is on there too. All right. So, oh, skipped one. Okay, so another one, cookware. Why is this so important? Well, because if we're putting our food in it, our food's going to absorb it. And so, what does this look like? Teflon? Yeah. So it's so bad. I mean, just exposure to this can cause a fever. It can create chest tightness. It can create shortness of breath. Can create a headache. Can create cough, chills, and a sore throat. Does this sound like anything? Maybe the flu. Maybe something we've been afraid of for the last 2 years. Yeah, a little bit. And we're all stuck at home. We're cooking all our meals in this thing.
Yeah.
And then the fear of all these symptoms when we start getting them convinces us that we're sick. And guess what? Our neurology is so powerful that if we tell ourselves we have something, we'll get it. No, we will. There was an engineer, not an engineer, or what do you call it when they're a repair guy, basically? I forget. Maintenance technician, right? Because he's not just a repairman, right? So his job was to work on refrigerated train cars. And he got himself locked into a refrigerated train car. And it was so bad, he couldn't find a way out. He was in there for 3 hours, but he did find something to write with on the wall. And when they found his body, guess what temperature it was? 56 degrees. There's no way he should have died. But he thought the refrigerated car was on. And he wrote these messages saying, I don't know how much longer I'm going to live. If it stays this cold for that much longer, I'm not going to make it. Guess what he died of? Hypothermia. Because he convinced himself that he was sick. Your brain is the most powerful muscle you have in your body. If you convince yourself you're sick, and sometimes I will gently correct you when you say something. You say my arthritis or my fibromyalgia, or I hope not. That's what I try to correct all the time. This is not yours. If you convince your brain that it is yours, guess what? I'm going to have 0% chance of doing, helping you overcome it, right? So here's what I'll tell you is that your brain is so powerful that you can also convince yourself that you've fully healed. So they also did it in knee surgery on a bunch of people that needed knee surgeries, but on half of the group, they only cut their knees open. They didn't actually perform the surgery, but they showed them a video of the knee surgery being done, and they thought it was their knee. And the group that actually had the reconstruction surgeries and the group that didn't have the reconstruction surgeries, guess which group got better results? It was the exact same. Surgical, non-surgical, the knees repaired the exact same because the brain's so powerful that if you tell yourself and you convince yourself that you are doing something, it happens. That's why Jesus said, if you just have the faith of a mustard seed. Guess what a mustard seed believes? It was created to grow into a mustard tree. That's what it believes. And if you give it the right conditions, the right water, the right nutrients in the soil, it grows into a mustard tree. But if you don't, then it won't. So you just need to know what your purpose is and believe that God's going to provide everything to take you there. And guess what? When you open your eyes to those opportunities, they come true. So that's what we're doing. We're planting seeds today. So PTFEs, do you want them? A little louder. No. Does anybody actually want it? Okay, no. So where's it found? It's found in Teflon, nonstick cookware, and many disposable face masks. Right? So I've told several of you walking in here with the disposable face masks, better if you wear the cloth ones.
My daughter went to put one of these face masks in boiling water and things came
It's
out.
nasty. So what should you do? Switch all Teflon pots and pans to stainless steel. Stainless steel. That's the best one. That's the one where you're not going to get the chemical wash off, unless you're putting in some toxic soaps, right? Yep. And even better than not using cloth face mask would be no face mask. Because guess what happens to cultures and societies that force face masks? Infection rates go up. That's what we're seeing.
I've already been sick twice, I never did.
Yeah, it's crazy. Air quality. This matters. No, so I started my practice when I was in Atlanta. I graduated in Atlanta. I got my first job in Atlanta. Worked there for a year and a half. Toxic air outside. So much pollution from just air pollution from traffic. Guess what's 20 times more toxic than the air in Atlanta? The air we're breathing right now. Inside. The recycled air coming through the HVAC systems. Even if it's cleaned as often as my landlord cleans it, which is actually pretty regular. Seems like they're calling me every 3 months, which is good. I want those filters changed. But even with that, it's still much cleaner outside. So what do? Toss air fresheners. Why? The perfumes in them are so bad. Those artificial fragrances contain those hormone mimickers. Invest in an air filter. And for some of you, it's a unit like this. For others, you know, it's just changing the air filters up there. You got to start where you need to go next, right? Open the windows. If the air outside is so much cleaner and it's 60, 70 degrees outside, let's just open the windows. Breathe the air that God gave us. And we're lucky here in Lincoln, Nebraska. Everywhere west of us, there's like hardly any towns. Yeah, we might get some crop dusters blowing in. If we see those, shut the windows. Yeah. Diffuse oils. If you want that scent, oils can actually have a detoxification effect on you. And I'm going to be doing a class soon on oils, so you guys know which ones are best. Microplastics. So I was reading another study in preparation for this class. The average American will consume a credit card's worth of microplastics every single year. So compared to 5 pounds of makeup, that doesn't sound like very much. But considering where we're getting those microplastics from, literally just leaching off of storage containers, breathing it in through surgical masks or our water supply, to consume a credit card's worth in a single year is pretty intense, because I don't see any plastic floating around in my glass of water. You know, and I don't even drink bottled water, but it's coming through the tap, and it's hard for our filters, even reverse osmosis, to filter it out. So what do? Wait for the PowerPoint, right? So number one, we want to avoid plastic wrap in containers. So I know that's everybody's favorite, the Rubbermaid, the Saran wrap, the, what's the other one called?
Tupperware.
Tupperware, yeah. My mom had stacks of this stuff.
Yeah.
And you don't have to toss it. If it's dry food, it's not going to absorb it. But if it's wet food, especially if it's acidic wet food, so soups and pasta sauces especially, I mean, you can see how it warps the plastic afterwards, right? gets yellowish and starts bubbling on the sides. That's because of the acid pulling the chemicals out of that. So definitely don't do that. So avoid those things, especially wet foods. Avoid using reusable grocery bags. Why? Because they leach the chemicals directly into your skin. If you're putting regular fruit into that stuff, regular vegetables, it's rubbing off on there. It's not good. What do we do instead? We use Pyrex. Glass containers with a plastic lid. And if it's liquid, just try to keep the level of the liquid below the lid. Yeah, just don't let it touch. And there are better lids. Like this one, I believe, is a cork material instead, or a wrapping that's not plastic. Cork, yep. Use Pyrex. That's a much better alternative. I buy my wife Pyrex like every anniversary, Christmas, birthday, and then I get her something romantic too. Yep. Yeah. She appreciates it. Yeah. Paper bags or boxes. When they say paper or plastic, that's what I'm saying. Paper, right? And then boxes as well. That's one of the reasons I love Costco is I'm carrying home a big box of stuff. Or I just skip the box altogether because I don't like to fill up my recycling bin. Right? But yeah, that helps avoid the contact with that. And then filter your water. I highly recommend a water filter for your tap and a water filter for your shower, which is the next thing. Because our tap water, it contains pesticides, it contains chlorine, it contains VOCs, and it contains fluoride. All those things are carcinogens or estrogen mimickers or neurotoxins. And so what do we want to do? We want to consider a shower filter. Aquasana is a great brand. And Aquasana also has a whole house water filtration system. Now, the water filtration system we have here is through Culligan. Equally good system, but it depends on what you need. So Aquasana, over the course of a year, it's going to be a little cheaper, but you have to pay for all of it up front. Culligan, you pay them monthly until you pay it off. And they have different levels of things going on. Something that I did while I was in school was on a student budget is we bought ourselves a Berkey water filter that sits next to our sink. And it contains a charcoal filter and a fluoride filter. And our water drips down through it. And it's small enough that we could pack it up and take it camping with us if we wanted to. It's not going to filter out toxic pond water, but if there's just tap water available, it is a very useful thing. Next slide. It's the problem with it being so much information is I can't just rely on my brain. Okay, so toxins in food. So here are some of the most common toxins in food. MSG, you probably know this. Who knows a different name for MSG? Hydrolyzed anything. Yeah, if you see the word hydrolyzed in the ingredients list, it's MSG. Yep. If it says gelatin, probably has MSG in there. All right. So MSG is one of those neurotoxins that's, or an excitotoxin is the right word. So it gives you ADD essentially. Aspartame. Yeah. So they've been arguing for years whether or not this causes cancer. But whether it causes cancer or not, what it breaks down to in your body is aspartic acid and formaldehyde. And I do not want formaldehyde in my body until I get involved. Right? No, it doesn't. Nitrates. What are we trying to avoid in pork and processed meats? Nitrates, right? FD and C colors. So red 40, green 5, really any color, especially if it has a number. Because when God created food, he didn't put numbers after it unless he was counting, right? And God didn't have to count because he just looks at it and knows. Doesn't even have to look at it, for goodness sake. Refined oils. Refined oils are oils that have to be processed to show up. And genetically modified food. Genetically modified because it contains more pesticides. And the pesticides are the things that we're looking at. So what are our action steps here? Number one, buy. That's a great step. I didn't write that one down. Buy organic. Not everything has to be organic here. And I think what Jan said is a great clue to what we should be looking at. We should be looking at food that's grown in season, food that's grown local, right? So it's fresher. They can wait until it's a little riper before it gets there. Food that's grown in season also has less pesticides on it. It doesn't require as much. Food that's grown out of season needs more pesticides in order to make it to market. So those are all very important. Organic is kind of an in-between step from those things. It's allowing it to, at least if you're going to get pesticides on it, for them to be organic pesticides that your body handles easier. In season, we just talked about. Stay away from the dirty dozen. So EWG comes out with a list of the foods that have the most pesticides on them. Every single year they come up with this. The one for 2022 hasn't come out yet. So you're relying on 2021's list. But those are the ones that contain the most pesticides. So what is it? Last year's list, number one is everybody's favorite berry. And guess what? The organic berries also have an organic pesticide that is toxic. So you have to wash these. My kids are always, they see the berries in the store and they're like, berry, berry, berry. And I'm like, not yet. Not yet, because that has that toxic pesticide on it still. And so these are the ones that I always, without fail, buy organic. When it comes to food, number one thing I buy organic is meat. And we'll go through some of the reasons why here in just a minute. Number two things I buy organic, regardless of budget, the dirty dozen. All right? Yes, ma'am.
What do you wash those off with?
Water.
Just water will kill the germs?
There's not germs on those,
Well,
right? So I know where this question is coming from, because for generations we've been told that our germs make us sick. Guess what? The germ in the soil actually makes us healthier. Guess which germs don't make you healthier? That's the ones that make you sick. So what should you be washing? Your hands. Absolutely. And then, yeah, rinse your foods, because even these have pesticides in them, even if they have, organic pesticides. They're not completely clean. You don't want to consume that stuff.
Get rid of pesticides?
Not completely. And this is why we don't just get conventional and wash them off. But yeah, you can get pesticide, or you can get vegetable wash, organic vegetable wash, that'll help go a little deeper. But guess what? Anybody ever do the celery experiment, where you take a stalk of celery, you stick it in a glass, and you put some red food dye in it? Nobody?
No.
I see a couple nods. Okay, so for those of you that haven't, who can explain what happens to the stalk of celery when you put red food dye in the water that the celery's in? It goes up and changes the color of the celery. What happens when you wash off that stick of celery? Does the color come out? No, because it's inside. And so it's more important that what it's grown in, the environment that it's grown in, is clean than what it's sprayed with. Ideally, it's not sprayed with anything, right? And there's this whole movement out there called regenerative farming, much, much cleaner than even organic, because now you're not just addressing what you're spraying on it, you're also addressing the soil composition. Is it full of nutrients? Is it full of pesticides? Can you continue to grow plants here for the next 80 years? Or is it just the next 20 at the highest profit? Thinking about what our kids are going to eat. Toxic bioaccumulation. So this is why animal products are number one. Because if I eat if I'm a small fish in a big pond, guess what? I don't have very many toxins inside of me. But if I'm a bigger fish that eats the smaller fish and all of his brothers and sisters, all the little bits of toxins that were in that school of fish that I just ate now are inside me. And I don't just survive on one school of fish. That's not the first little meal I ate. I eat dozens and dozens and dozens of those. And so if I'm eating meat products, I want the cleanest source. I want the ones that aren't eating an animal-based diet, right? Cows are great. Cows don't eat other animals. But if they eat corn that's sprayed with pesticide, who else gets the pesticide? I do. But if they eat grass the way that God designed it to, guess who's not getting the pesticide anymore? I'm not. And on top of it, I'm getting a better dose of omega-3s by a factor of 4 to 20, somewhere in there. Who needs more omegas in their life? Everybody should be raising their hand. Everybody needs more omegas. If you want your brain to function well, you need omegas. Who needs omegas? Yeah, okay, thank you for raising your hands that time. So toxic bioaccumulation. Anybody here take supplements? Anybody know that your toxins could, or your supplements could be toxic? Yeah, your toxins could be supplement. Yeah, right? So this is a very common supplement label. So what you see is first ingredient sounds good but does nothing. Second ingredient is good but is very low potency. Third is a proprietary blend of all kinds of stuff, heavy on the cheap bits, right? And then the fourth ingredient, promising but lacks evidence. The fifth one is caffeine from a fancy source. And the other ingredients, the most important stuff, is an inert filler, excipient A, excipient B, and then cap material, which is most likely MSG because it's just gelatin, right? This one is probably maltodextrin, which is corn sugar. Is it any wonder that when I take an x-ray of some people, I'm seeing these supplements coming through their system that they're not absorbing?
You can see that.
On bad supplements? Yeah, especially tablet form supplements. If you're taking a tablet, I'm sorry.
Just doesn't break down.
It's not going to break down the way it should. There's some things that need to be tablet form, but if the only thing you're taking is tablet, especially a multivitamin, no, don't. Yeah, no, especially the store brand, right? It's just a cheap knockoff of the other tablet that doesn't work. That's the name brand that you see in the commercials. Don't waste your money. You can say it, I can't. Yep. So what do you want to look for? So here's what you want. You want no artificial flavors, colors, or additives. So that rules out all gummies. Pretty much all chewables. Because it's going to sweeten, it's going to flavor, and it's going to color. So that your kids want to buy it. It probably has a cartoon character on it, right? So just don't do it. It's not worth the money. You're basically flushing your money down the toilet when you take a name brand supplement. And if you're wondering if it is, just ask me, take a picture of it and send it to me, and I'll say, stop taking it. Right?
Try something else.
Try something else. Here, let's take you off of all these big bag of things that aren't working and try this little bit of stuff that I know works. Right? How about that? Even if this little bit of stuff costs as much as this big bag of stuff, this stuff didn't work, this stuff does. What's worth it, right? So we want it closest to its natural form. And really the fancy word for this is bioavailability. Right? It's what you want with your food. When you eat a piece of chicken, you want that chicken to be chicken because chicken has certain things in it that help to make you you. You don't want that chicken to be plastic, flavored like chicken, and breaded so that it tastes good going down. Hopefully that's this group. Now, I might be talking to the wrong people, right? So here's the promise. Here's the reason why I use Max Living supplements instead of other brands. Because they promise that everything in here is what it says it is. And they go through the GMP certification. They're FDA registered, and they also do the NSF certification, which all you need to know is that what it says is in it, and that it will still be in it 2 years from now. So if you lose it in the back of your cabinets, you can still take it 2 years later, right? It's probably not gone bad. Happens sometimes, right, Barb? You get a bad one every now and again. Yeah, we'll take care of it. We'll also have no artificial sweeteners and low levels of natural sweeteners. And only in certain supplements do we even have those natural flavors. Or, yeah, natural sweeteners. 100% GMO free, 100% gluten free, and the strength and purity guarantee. Yeah. I don't sell supplements to make money. Honestly, it could go away and I'd be doing about the same. I sell supplements so that you guys can get better. Because I know that certain things work for certain things, and that when you're not getting the right quality of ingredient in this, that you're basically not getting what you think you need, or what you actually need, even if you think you're taking it. So, when it comes to detoxification, this is the most potent detox formula I know that's actually safe and gentle to take. And so there's a couple of things in here that I want to make sure that you understand about this system. Number one is that it has activated charcoal in there. It helps alleviate gas and bloating. It also binds to toxins and helps to flush them out. This is something that if you were to go to the emergency room and having swallowed like a capsule of arsenic or something, they would just give you activated charcoal. And we give you smaller doses here so that you can bind to these things and flush it out. And it's a 30-day process. I recommend doing this 3 to 4 times a year. If you haven't done it yet this year, guess what? It's 15% off tonight. Milk, thistle, and dandelion extracts support the liver and the gallbladder health. And that's a very important part of the detoxification process. Next, it's going to talk about boosting immunity, helps protect the body from damage caused by free radicals. That's glutathione and glutathione precursors. Glutathione is one of the most potent antioxidants, essential amino acids actually, that your body needs. You don't produce it on your own. You can produce it if you have the building blocks, which are also essential. Essential meaning your body doesn't produce it by itself. But it's, you know, even when you're looking at COVID research, people that are low in glutathione have a higher proclivity towards coronavirus infection. And so glutathione is something that you want in your system regularly. This is one of the things that when me and my family, we got COVID, my wife and I started taking the detox system. So then we also have the Max Cleanse. So these are these two. And people have asked me regularly, what's the difference? Why do I need one versus the other? This is the one that you want to take for daily support. And you can take this 365 days a year without a problem. It's got, if you're really, really, really tight on a budget, you know you need to do some detox, but you also know that you need a multivitamin and you need it, this is what you get. Because this doesn't just have, the multivitamin doesn't just have the activated charcoal, it has all of it, just not in super high doses. But if you're in a crunch and a pinch, this is the one you get, okay? But this doesn't have glutathione in it. This one is a two-part system. You ask just about anybody that knows supplements, when they look at the ingredients on the back, how good is this? They'll say, this is the best that I've seen. This is, the morning contains the stuff to set you up, and then the evening contains the stuff to lay you down, right? And this one will stimulate bowel movements. And it has magnesium oxide in there to help with that. And it's in the evening capsule to also help you sleep. And so when I switch from this to this, I go from 1 large bowel movement a day to 3 large bowel movements a day. So that's part of the reason why I only do 3 to 4 times a year. I don't need that all the time. You know, 3 to 4 is still healthy, but maybe I want to hold on to some stuff a little bit longer, a couple of times a year, right? Yep. So there's that. Other supplements that help with detox. Obviously, you need a multivitamin. If you're missing raw materials, your body can't build you back up, right? You can't tell a contractor to build a brick house and not give them any bricks, right? So that would be your multivitamin. Greens capsules. Average American consumes how many servings of vegetables a day? Less than 1. Less than 1. A capsule contains 2 to 3 servings of fruits and vegetables. A scoop of the powdered stuff, 2 to 3 servings of fruits and vegetables. So if you don't like the flavor of the powdered stuff, here you go. You can just swallow it. If you do like the flavor, you like to add it to your smoothies, do the powdered stuff. But yeah, it's just incredible what the getting vegetables into your life does. And then the other thing that a lot of people miss is the protein. Protein, we actually have, I have a bigger box. We call it Max Purification. And it's a 14-day intensive cleanse. And it's mostly just protein. It's a bone broth protein with a couple of supplements that you take every time you take a protein shake. And it's 2 protein shakes a day. And it cleans you out. It was so intense that I had to stop 3 days into it. It was too much for my system to handle. It was delicious, though. It was a strawberry vanilla protein, which I don't sell because they won't put it in a bottle for me. But if you want that, you can buy that box. And it comes with 28 servings for $200. So, but it's an intensive detox. But you don't need that specific detox to get that effect. I do recommend everybody get on high quality protein because most of us are deprived of essential amino acids. And you don't have to get the plant protein. I'm just holding the cheapest option, right? It was the closest to my hand. But we have 3 different options, really 6 if you count the flavors. But the plant protein, if you're vegetarian or vegan, probably the best tasting plant protein out there. It's not good tasting when you're used to the whey or the the bone broth, but they're all fantastic for bioavailability and absorption and flavor. I mean, really, the flavor is what keeps me coming back to it. There are more flavors available. If you want them, they're just under the Designs for Health label instead of the Max Living label, which is the same company that makes all of them. Just we haven't put our label on those yet. So those are the ones that I'm recommending for detox if you're looking to get some things tonight. And everything's 15% off tonight. Plus, everybody gets a stamp on their cards tonight, which entitles you to an additional % off for just being a wellness warrior. Anybody think that you can fully detox without exercising? No, because what's your largest detoxification organ? Your skin. You have to sweat in order to do this. And guess what else exercise stimulates? Bowel movements. If you're not exercising and you're not pooping, guess what? You need to move. You need to move. If you're exercising but you're not sweating, guess what? You're not working hard enough. We got to do something a little more. And maybe you're at a point with your fitness routine where you aren't physically capable of making yourself sweat without hurting yourself. Guess what I recommend there? Get in the sauna. Get in a whirlpool. Move a little bit there and make yourself sweat. Because without the sweat, you're not getting the full detoxification process. Sweat releases toxins. So number 1, move. Number 2, get your heart rate up. And number 3, sweat. But guess what? We have to get the big idea here first. The big idea is this. If I feel good, I must be healthy, right? That's what we've been taught forever. But guess what? Feeling 61% good and feeling 100% good is exactly the same feeling. If you're at 61% function, you feel the exact same as you do at 100% function. So for you to develop a symptom, you have to be decreased in function by 40%. Now that can happen in an instant, right? You can break a bone. You can cut your leg. You can cut your hand. You can get a paper cut. Guess what those cells are? Less than 60% function because of that injury. But for most of us, it's lifestyle. It's these toxins. It's the nutrients that we're putting in our body or lack thereof. But what controls all function in the body, right? Because health is function. It's your central nervous system. For your heart to beat, for your lungs to breathe, for a cut on your leg to heal, God has to send a signal from your brain down your spinal cord and out the nerves to every organ, cell, and tissue. It doesn't happen any other way. How do we know that? Because if we sever the brainstem, can you detox? No, you can bleed out and there can be a bunch of toxins coming out, but that's about it. If we sever all the nerves going to your heart, how long are you going to detox for? If we sever all the nerves going to your digestive system, does it matter if we're doing a cleanse or not? No. And so what did God put around that central nervous system? Yeah, a layer of armor, bone, the spine. The spinal column and each individual vertebra surround and protect your brain stem, the spinal cord, and each of the nerve roots coming off. But guess what happens when that goes out of position? This stuff. What is this list similar to? It's similar to the list, not just of things you're dealing with, but the toxicity list. Because guess what affects the spinal alignment? There's 3 T's. Thoughts, traumas, and toxins. The 3 things that can take you out of alignment. And I will see this. I will see a scoliosis developing around a glob of fat that's protecting you from a toxin. It happens. But guess what I see more often? Well, I work at a computer all day. And then I stand up. And I look like I'm 80.
Oh, wait a minute, I'm awful close.
I should be 150 though, right? Right? We shouldn't be falling down that fast. But if you're dealing with those things, guess what? It might not be that your body is overly toxic. It might be that your nervous system is so suppressed because of misalignment issues that you can't detox a normal amount of exposure. It might not just be the exposure. First things first here. Let's address function before we go running off down this rabbit trail of all these different toxins, because you can really get crazy with toxic exposures, can't you? That's just an introduction to the stuff that's toxic, right? But guess what? If we align the spine and you're still having these symptoms, then guess what we need to do? Find the cause. Because if all we do is address the symptom, right? We take away the headaches because we gave you an ibuprofen or aspirin. Was the ibuprofen or aspirin the deficiency that led to the headaches? Ever? Did God create any one of you with a lack of ibuprofen or aspirin or Tylenol?
No.
Exactly. Do you want your mechanic going in there and putting tape over your check engine light? No, a good way to fire a mechanic. No. So how do you know if you're healthy or not? X-ray. This is why, no matter what frequency you guys are at, no matter how healthy you are, I recommend an X-ray annually on your spine by a chiropractor that knows exactly what he's doing with the spine. If you're not getting an X-ray, how do you know if your nervous system's healthy? Because I feel good? Oh, I feel good at 61% until I don't feel good. Oh, then there's a headache. Well, then I go get cracked. My headache goes away, so I don't see my chiropractor again for a year. That's a story I hear all the time. You guys saw me out at the Lawn and Leisure show or the Home and Garden show. Guess what I heard from half the people walking by? Oh, I got a chiropractor. I saw him 5 years ago. I go to him every time I hurt. Right? Because that's when you need it. Right? No, when do you need it? When your spine's out. When there's pressure on your nervous system. How do you know when that is? You don't unless it's tested. That's why everyone needs a chiropractor. That's why you need to get checked regularly. That's why I keep encouraging it. That's why I never recommend that you stop. Because why? Because I don't stop. Because I believe in this stuff. I believe that you can't be healthy without a healthy nervous system. And not because it's a good belief to have, but because it's true. Would a neurologist say that you could be healthy without a healthy nervous system? Would an immunologist say you could be healthy without a healthy nervous system? No. They understand that that controls all function. But what do they practice is that when you get a symptom, you cover it up with medication. So there's a disconnect there. There's a disconnect in our healthcare system. There's a reason why we spend more money, we take more drugs, and we end up with the 72nd best healthcare system. That our life expectancy is lower than all the other industrialized nations. That our mortality rate for our infants and our mothers is higher than every other industrialized nation. Because we're all about the symptom. And if it isn't about the symptom, what's it about? The insurance. The money, right? And guess what the money wants? More money. The money wants more money. And who's the money? The insurance. The government. All right? And so what we find is that people will sacrifice their health at the footsteps or the altar of the insurance model because it's covered and it's in network and they'll give me what I need because it's health insurance. Health insurance isn't about your health. Medicare guidelines state that any care that seeks to prevent disease, promote or enhance the quality or longevity of life is not considered medically reasonable or necessary and therefore will not be covered. Does your insurance want you healthy? What do they want? Your money. I want you to be healthy. That's why I equip you guys. That's why I take an hour and 20 minutes on a Monday night. I should be tucking my kids into bed once a month to teach you guys. Guess what? This doesn't cost you anything. Guess what I want you to do? Be healthy. I want you to keep coming back. Because how many people are going to remember all of this? Not me. I'm going to have to study again when we do this again next year. And I'll learn about the new research, about the new things that are newly toxic because we came up with new products that make our lives that much easier. And I'm going to teach you how to detox from those things. All right? So action steps. Number one, if you haven't had a spine and nervous system evaluation yet this year, it's time. We'll schedule it tonight. Number two, lateral moves, sideways moves, and low-hanging fruit. Hopefully you identified 1 or 2 or 3 things that you can change tonight. And I hope you go home and you take those things out of your cabinets and you just throw them in the trash. And then you go to ewg.org and you start looking at those things, those top things that I said were action steps, and you just put an Amazon order out there. Or better, Thrive Market. Yeah, go to Thrive Market, where at least it's organic to start with. And even if it doesn't score well on the EWG chart, at least you got organic poison instead of other poison, right? So make those lateral moves. And then number 3, we got to keep learning. And so I hope you keep coming back. I really do. So upcoming opportunities, look behind you. Say hi to the camera. So we got the calendar right there behind you. So you guys can see tonight we had the detox workshop. If you and flexing and increasing our coordination and balance. That's Max Flex. That's our low impact class. That's our beginners class. Just an introduction to starting to get moving. I keep it very low level so that anybody can go. Anybody can try it. Yeah, it's great. Jan and I have a great time on Saturdays, every Saturday. I don't think she's missed in like a year or so. Yeah, no, we have a great time there. And then the following Saturday, I will be closed. I have to do some continuing education in Kansas City. So if you come on Saturdays, don't for that one. And there won't be a workout on that Saturday. We can reschedule to a different day in that week. But the next one is our other workout class. So the 16th, we're doing Zumba. So that's where we sweat. That's where we break that sweat and we get going. If you're not breaking a sweat, I'll turn up the temperature so that you will. And it's fun and we have a blast. We really move. Oh yeah, yeah. If you can't do it on your feet, you do it on a chair. You just move around, go to the beat. It's a good time. And Miss Molly comes in and she helps teach us with that one. So we try to alternate those every other week. And then you see our next class coming up is actually going to be on Monday the 25th. That's going to be our Nutrition 101. If some of this is like, man, I just felt like I had a master's level course in toxicity, well, let's go back to the basics. Nutrition 101 is the freshman level course where we start breaking down, okay, what at its basic level, what should I be putting in my body and what should I be leaving out? And we keep it very simple and we give you some very easy action steps to get started with. We help you to determine whether you need to be on the advanced plan or on the core plan. You know, if there's any food sensitivities that we need to be addressing, and we go from there. But that's on Monday the 25th at 6:30 p.m. The class after that is actually, I believe, going to be on your cardiac health. So #1 killer in the United States is heart attacks, heart disease in general. And so we're going to be addressing how do we prevent this? How do we recover from it? And how do we bounce back from that? So that'll be the one after that. So we're looking at May for that date. But also, definitely pay attention. Last Friday of every single month, we do prayer. If you don't work at noon on Fridays, please come. There is power in prayer. And specifically the focus is, the healthcare system and the health culture of our city. Like this really needs to be transformed. We don't need people dying of Alzheimer's and dementia and cancer and heart disease. Like we don't need that. These are preventable diseases. We should be going out like Moses or going out like Abraham or, at least going down fighting, right? Yeah. And so this is the stuff that we're praying for. So that'll be on April 25th. Special date that I need to add to the calendar is on Thursday, April 21st. I am the guest speaker at Union College for their chapel that day. That'll be, what time is chapel at on Thursdays? Yeah. 10:20. So there is a live stream link that I can give to people that don't want to come. But guess what? Worship is always better in person. And it's open to everyone, right? Yeah. And if it's not, Union College, their chapel, which I still have never been to it yet. So be my first time finding it too. Sally's going to help me. Yes, it's a good school. So those are your upcoming opportunities. My wish is that you guys attend every single one of them. Do I expect you to? No. But that's my hope. Just like I don't expect you to ever reach here, but I hope you do. Right? Life is imperfect. So are we. But by the grace of God, He'll carry us through. All right. So I'm going to stick around for questions. I'm going to turn off the video broadcast here in just a second. And then Sally will help you check out. Make sure you get a punch on your cards. If you don't have a card yet, pick up a card that entitles you to 6% off all supplements all the time. That adds on to tonight's 15% off supplements, so you'll be up to 21% if this is your first time getting a card. If you already have a card, you're probably up to 2 or 3 punches, so you add a percentage point per punch to that. So the card is 5, a punch is 6, 2 punches is 7, and 3 is 8, and so on. Every time you come to a class, you get another punch. If you come to all the classes, guess what? You're going to get a t-shirt. Right? Someone was asking me, Dr. Jake, do I have to keep coming to all these classes? I was at that class last year. I'm like, do you want to learn the stuff I learned last year?
Do you remember
Yeah. Do you remember it? Have you implemented all of it? Like, how many things did I tell you to remember? 3 at most. So hopefully you come to every one of these every single year. Life happens, I get it, but do your best. And I'll do mine. Okay? Should I pray?
Yep.
All right, dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this evening. Thank you for the opportunity to be here to learn more and to give you honor and glory, Lord. None of this is me. This is all you. This is your creation, Lord. We just ask for wisdom and guidance and understanding when it comes to our health. And we thank you for those people that do take the time to do the research and look this stuff up, whether it's to share with their friends or to better themselves so that they can fulfill the purpose and plans that you've created them for. Lord, we thank you and praise you for all these things and so many more. In Jesus' name, amen. Yes, ma'am.
If anyone has not signed up for the care community, we have a care community